Joining me now is Liberal Senator, former Ambassador to Israel, Dave Sharma. Dave, great to see you. We could all see where this was headed in the Middle East. Some perhaps surprised that this attack from Iran didn't come earlier. Some 181 ballistic missiles aimed at Tel Aviv and Jerusalem. Now, Iran, incredibly, the propaganda machine says all those ballistic missiles hit the targets that were intended, but there have been no reported casualties in Israel.
Look, my understanding is that almost the entirety of Iran's missile barrage was intercepted and destroyed by Israel's missile defence systems and US missile defence systems based on destroyers parked in the Mediterranean. So I don't think Iran's, as I understand it, Iran's attack, which was, I must say, an unprovoked act of aggression and should be condemned. I don't think it's caused any loss of life in Israel that I understand.
Does this tell us anything about Iran's capability? We know it has enriched uranium. We know it has nuclear weapons. But perhaps I think we should take their threat seriously. I'm not suggesting we don't for any one moment. But is it as capable of hitting Israel and doing damage as it says it is?
Well, look, I'd say, Iran is one of the most dangerous and destabilising actors, not only in their region, but globally. It was Iran that has basically started, equipped, trained, funded Hezbollah, provided significant support to Hamas, continues to arm and fund the Houthis. These are all terrorist groups that are basically targeting Israel now. And Iran has a nuclear enrichment program and the ambition to acquire nuclear weapons. So it is a dangerous actor. But I think they know, in a conventional military conflict with a nation as technologically advanced as Israel and with the support of allies like the United States, they are likely to come off second best. And I think that's why you've seen some of their hesitancy in responding, for instance, to the Ismail Haniyeh assassination and in their desire not to get embroiled in Israel's current conflict with Hezbollah and Hamas.
Yeah, why didn't it respond after that assassination of Haniyeh, but are responding now to the assassination of the Hezbollah leader? What do you make of that?
Well, I think the Iranian regime, which, positions itself as the leader within the region and indeed the Arab world of opposition to Israel, has taken some quite severe blows in the past few weeks with the decapitation of a large amount of Hezbollah's military leadership and military infrastructure, with the Ismail Haniyeh assassination. So I think the regime has been shown to be, in some respects, a paper tiger, unable to impose its will on the region, which is part of its propaganda. But it's also quite a fragile regime. You have to remember this is a regime which endured almost a year of protests after the morality police, killed a Kurdish woman in detention for failing to wear the headdress properly. This is a deeply unpopular regime within its own country. And it is trying to, restore a measure of domestic legitimacy and doesn't want to focus on or become embroiled in foreign conflicts.
Benjamin Netanyahu has proven himself a leader that says exactly what he means. And when he says that this attack was a big mistake and Iran should expect a retaliation, I think we should take that seriously. What do you think retaliation from Benjamin Netanyahu looks like against Iran? Well,
look, I'd say, first of all, that, Israel has been the victim here of an unprovoked attack, and it does have a right to defend itself, and that does include retaliation against Iran. I do take Israel at their word. I don't think they want to trigger an all-out conflict with Iran, but I think they will show, as they did after the Iran fired a barrage of about 300 missiles, drones and other projectiles at Israel in April, that they will respond with a showcase of their own capability and hit Iran in a place that hurts it and that raises the costs, if you like, to Iran and forces them to step back from a wider conflict.
Israel does have a right to defend itself, absolutely, and part of that is retaliation. But what does this look like? What's the end game here, Dave? What does Israel want to achieve in terms of its own security? Because it has been talking about defence of itself and stopping, these targets, whether it's Hamas, Hezbollah or the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. How does this end? Because it just looks like it has been escalating for a year.
Well, I think we're seeing a period of profound change in the Middle East, and I think a lot of that has the prospect to be quite positive. I mean, Israel's desired end state is to live in peace and security, at peace with its neighbours. It doesn't harbour any territorial or other ambitions on its neighbours. It does have peace treaties with Jordan, with Egypt. It does have diplomatic relations with the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain. It would like to see that peace extended. But the biggest obstacle to that goal has been Iran and the terrorist proxy groups that Iran has created to threaten Israel on its borders, whether it's Hezbollah, whether it's the Houthis, whether it's Shia militia groups in Syria and Iraq, whether it's Hamas. And the destruction of these groups, or the significant destruction of their capabilities, I think holds the prospect of a much more positive region, because most of the Arab world wants to have normal relations with Israel. But it's Iran and its veto on a lot of the other decision-making of other countries and its ability to threaten Israel that is preventing that from coming about. So I think at the end of this military operation, we could see a much more positive outlook for the Middle East, and that would be a good thing. Why?
Because you're taking out the current leadership, and the next leadership of Hezbollah in Iran are going to be different?
I don't think you necessarily have these organisations succeeding. I mean, you've got to remember, wars do end with the destruction of political movements and military organisations. Hamas has been significantly harmed. Hezbollah has been significantly harmed. Their promise to their people, if you like, has been shown to be illusory. All they have brought upon their people is misery, destruction and death. And I think there's a good chance that people in the Middle East will seek an alternative path of political leadership in the future. And that would be a good thing. I mean, Israel has tried accommodation. Hamas has been accommodated now since it took power in Gaza for 2 decades. Hezbollah has been accommodated since it was created in 1983. Accommodation has not worked because all it has done is allowed these organisations to strengthen, arm, equip and become more formidable adversaries. And Israel has quite rightly said, we've had enough of accommodation. We cannot live like this anymore. We need to change the parameters in the Middle East. And that is a goal that we should be supporting here in Australia.
Dave Sharma, always good to talk to you. Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.
Thanks so much, Laura.